Wayan is a bit late, 2 minutes late already. Yeah.
Okay.
Om Swastiastu. Namo Buddhaya. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom. Salam sejahtera untuk kita semua. Yang terhormat Senat Fakultas Ilmu Budaya Universitas Udayana, serta hadirin dan undangan yang kami hormati pula. Selamat pagi dan selamat datang di ruang sidang Dr. Insinyur Soekarno, Gedung Purbacaraka, Fakultas Ilmu Budaya Universitas Udayana, pada ujian Sidang Promosi Doktor atas nama Xing S.S.M.Hum pada hari ini, Senin 9 Agustus 2021. Hadirin yang kami hormati, berikut akan kami perkenalkan Promovendus atas nama Xing S.S.M.Hum, kelahiran Henan, 6 Februari 1989. Promovendus berhasil menyelesaikan pendidikan strata 1 di Tianjin Foreign Studi University pada tahun 2012. Pada tahun 2016 meraih gelar magister di Beihua University. Promovendus tercatat sebagai karya siswa program doktor, program studi Linguistik, Fakultas Ilmu Budaya Universitas Udayana pada tahun 2018. Adapun judul disertasi yang akan diuji pada hari ini adalah Language Service of Dali Ancient City, Linguistic Landscape Approach. Hadirin yang kami hormati, demikianlah sekilas tentang Promovendus. Acara akan kami lanjutkan dengan Pimpinan Sidang Promosi Doktor, Dekan Fakultas Ilmu Budaya Universitas Udayana, menempati ruang sidang Dr. Insinyur Soekarno. Hadirin dimohon berdiri. Himne Udayana. Hadirin disilakan duduk kembali. Dekan Fakultas Ilmu Budaya Universitas Udayana disilakan memimpin sidang promosi doktor.
dinyatakan dibuka dan terbuka untuk umum. Yang terhormat anggota Senat Fakultas Ilmu Budaya Universitas Udayana, yang kami hormati Bapak Ibu tim promotor dan anggota tim penguji, saudara promovendus yang terpelajar, serta hadirin yang kami muliakan. Terlebih dahulu saya perkenalkan tim penguji promosi doktor bagi Xing S.A. Master Education. Tim penguji terdiri atas Profesor Dr. Nengah Sudipa M.A. selaku promotor dan sekaligus sebagai anggota tim penguji. 2. Profesor Dr. Ketut Artawa M.A. selaku ko-promotor 1 dan sekaligus sebagai anggota tim penguji. 3. Profesor Dr. M.Edu Suastra Ph.D. selaku ko-promotor 2 dan sekaligus sebagai anggota tim penguji. 4. Profesor Dr. Budiarsa M.A. selaku penguji dan sekaligus sebagai anggota tim penguji. 5. Profesor Dr. Wayan Pastika MS selaku penguji dan sekaligus sebagai anggota tim penguji. 6. Profesor Dr. Wayan Simpen M.Hum selaku penilai dan sekaligus sebagai anggota tim penguji. 7. Profesor Dr. Abdul Hakim Yassi M.A. selaku penilai dan sekaligus sebagai anggota tim penguji. 8. Dr. Nyoman Udayana M.Litt Ph.D. selaku penilai dan sekaligus sebagai anggota tim penguji. Saya sendiri Dr. Made Sri Satyawati S.S.M.Hum, Dekan Fakultas Ilmu Budaya Universitas Udayana, sebagai pimpinan sidang promosi doktor. Seorang doktor selain dapat menghasilkan disertasi dengan benar, juga harus dapat mempertahankan disertasi tersebut terhadap berbagai sanggahan. Tim penguji dalam promosi doktor ini dimohon untuk memberi penilaian terhadap 1. Alur penalaran ilmiah Promovenda dalam mempertahankan disertasi terhadap sanggahan, dan 2. Sumbangan terhadap bidang ilmu dan atau nilai penerapannya. Sebelum ujian dimulai, saya mau bertanya kepada promovendus, apakah saudara siap untuk diujikan dalam ujian promosi doktor hari ini?
Iya, saya siap, Ibu Pimpinan Sidang.
Ya, terima kasih. Promovendus dipersilakan untuk mempresentasikan hasil penelitian yang dicapai dan penemuan hal-hal yang baru pada disertasi saudara yang berjudul Language Service of Dali Ancient City Linguistic Landscape Approach. Saya persilakan saudara petugas waktu memberikan tanda awal pada pukul 10.20 dan berakhir pada pukul 10.35.
Atas kesempatan yang diberikan oleh Ibu Pimpinan Sidang. Pertama-tama saya mau berterima kasih kepada Universitas Udayana yang telah memberi saya kesempatan untuk belajar. Kedua, saya mau berterima kasih kepada Fakultas Ilmu Budaya karena telah mengizinkan saya untuk belajar lebih banyak pengetahuan baru selama masa studi saya. Terima kasih Ibu Dekan Dr. Ph.D. Satyawati S.S.M.Hum untuk menjadi ketua ujian ini. Saya berterima kasih kepada promotor saya, Prof. Dr. Nengah Sudipa M.A., co-promotor ke-1, Prof. Dr. Ketut Artawa M.A., co-promoter kedua Prof. Doctorandus IMAD Suastra Ph.D. atas semua bantuan. Saya juga mengucapkan terima kasih kepada semua prof-prof atas bimbingannya di setiap ujian, sehingga saya dapat terus meningkat. Terima kasih Prof. Dr. Abdul Hakim Yassi, M.A. Terima kasih Prof. Dr. Made Budiarsa, M.A. Terima kasih Prof. Dr. Wayan Pastika, M.S. Terima kasih Prof. Dr. Wayan Simpen, M.Hum. Terima kasih Dr. Randos Nyoman Udayana, M.Litt, Ph.D. Akhirnya, saya mau mengucapkan terima kasih kepada staf-staf di Fakultas Ilmu Budaya atas bantuan mereka, dan teman-teman sekelas saya atas dorongan mereka. Terima kasih. Sebentar saya akan pakai bahasa English. Minta maaf. Well, the topic of my research for today is the linguistic landscape approach to check the language service of Delhi Asian City. Today, I'm going to share the 5 parts. For the first part is my research background. As we can see, Delhi is located in the southeast of China, which is very beautiful with a long history and unique minorities culture. So this is a sample city with diversity of linguistic landscape in that area. For the linguistic landscape, I use the concept of Landry and Borges. They believe that the language on public road signs, advertisements, billboards, street names, etc. is called linguistic landscape. And how do I do this research to check the linguistic landscape? I applied the language service theory, which is applied by a Chinese scholar named Shaobing Qu. He believed that all the language services is served to the public, and also it's inevitable to talk about language policies. As we can see in all the pictures of the linguistic landscape in that area, we will find there are quite similarities and also some difference. For example, the difference will be the language written on the signs, multilingual, monolingual, bilingual. And the similarities belongs to the local logos and the cartoons of the representative of minorities, and also some of the colors, as we can see, dark red. So this is about the linguistic landscape in that area. But before I check in that sample city, I have 3 research questions. The first is, what is the current situation of the linguistic landscape in that area? The second is, how does the linguistic landscape provide language service in that area? The third is, why the language service is required to be suitable for the linguistic landscape in that sample city. In order to answer the 3 research questions, I applied 3 corresponding theories, and also with correct and proper research method. Finally, I got my research finding, the wide use of combined signs, which is a new novelty in my research. And the second part is the service awareness of using the QR code. The third part is focused on creating an exclusive regional impression. For the research method, first is to make sure about where I collect my data. So the research area is very important. And according to the linguistic landscape theory, it is inclined to be the largest flow of population and the high density of the signs. I chose the core and the center area in the sample city. For collecting my data, I use observation and survey method to do this collection. The primary data and first-hand data belongs to the linguistic landscape in that area, and also the questionnaires. I asked a lot of passengers who passed the streets and read the signs. For analyzing the data, I use both quantitative and qualitative, but mainly I used the quantitative analysis. For presenting the data, I use 3 ways to present. At here, I have to make something clear about the linguistic landscape is one of my data that I collected, which is very important to answer the first research question. For the interview is used to answer the second research question about language service. And the third part is questionnaire to give an evaluation and feedback to the language service of the linguistic landscape in that area. So from fourth part is the research process that I do. And I found there is not only official and private science, but a new kind of science, which is combined. And then I found there are a lot of different categories belongs to these 3 parts. For example, the road name, the public service advertisement, and the bus stop sign. For these 3 kind of sign belongs to the official sign and the private sign, and also a new funding combined signs. For the combined sign, they have 2 different functions. The first function is a trash bin and also an advertisement billboard. The second indicator billboard looks like official sign, but the language written on it is privately. So this is also belongs to the third category, combined signs. And in order to make the language service and my second research question clear, it is inevitable to talk about the language law, the language policy, especially in Article 13 of the Law of the People's Republic of China of Standard Spoken and Written Chinese Language. It said very clear, the standardized Chinese character shall be used as the basic characters in the service trade, in signboards, in advertisements, in signs, etc. And also, it required a foreign language with Chinese language. But here it doesn't say the foreign language must be English. In Article 26, it required any citizen to make criticism and put forward their suggestions when the use of spoken and written language was wrong or incorrect. So for this article, it gives right to the sign, to all the people to revise the sign when they found it is incorrect. And then in this part, I found 2 parts of the effectiveness of language. Based on the characteristic of language, because language is a communication tool, so it has the 2 effectiveness. And for the services, it has economic and make profits, especially for the economic effectiveness. As we can see, the official sign and private and combined sign, they have different purpose. For the official sign is in order to make beneficial for all aspects, but the private and combined sign is only make beneficial for themselves. And the last part, I use questionnaire to ask the sign readers, ask their feedback. After this, I found there are 3 advantages. The wide use of combined signs, as I mentioned before, especially the third part, focus on creating an exclusive regional impression. As we can see in these pictures, the local minority, the butterfly, and the Asian city logos belongs to the exclusive regional impression. And this is anywhere in the official and combined signs. But also I found 2 problems. Non-standard public sign, as we can see in the picture, it is already broken, but nobody revise it and change it. So it cannot deliver a good language service to the sign reader. And also with this one, we can see it is covered the language. So the sign reader, especially for the foreign tourists who doesn't understand the Chinese character, they don't know the meaning and they don't know what language services this billboard wants to deliver. And also, I found another problem with language choice of private science. For example, translation. Forget about the rivers and lakes, size and love. Both of them have written English, Chinese character, English sentences, but the translation is literally, so it's not a real meaning, and the foreign sign reader cannot get the meaning of the sign. And also there are another wrong way with Chinese pinyin. So for in this way, it looks like English letter, but it is not English. So for the non-Chinese speaker, they also don't understand what's the meaning. Finally, I answered the 3 research questions, and based on the problem I found, I gave 3 suggestions to strengthen the management and maintenance. This is for the government, and to improve the quality of language services. This is for the sign owner and the sign designer. Pay more attention to the sign value. This is also for the sign owner and sign designer. So this is my presentation. Thank you. 谢谢。
Karena presentasi telah selesai, saya persilahkan petugas waktu untuk memberikan tanda akhir. Selanjutnya 80 menit ke depan adalah sesi tanya jawab dari tim penguji kepada Promovendus. Tanpa mengurangi hak para penguji, sidang ini tidak menjadi ajang diskusi mengenai materi dan analisis statistik disertasi yang telah diputuskan dan disetujui oleh panitia ujian doktor tertutup. Karena banyaknya penanya yang menggunakan kesempatan ini, kami mohon kesediaan saudara penguji untuk membatasi waktu dan jumlah pertanyaan. Penguji mengajukan pertanyaan satu persatu sehingga diharapkan semua penguji mendapat kesempatan. Saya mohon saudara petugas waktu memberikan tanda awal pada pukul 10.30 dan akan berakhir pada pukul 11.50 menit. Saya persilahkan yang saya hormati Saudara Promotor Profesor Dr. Nengah Sudipa M.A.
Well, terima kasih Ibu Dekan. Is it clear? Hello?
Clear, Pak.
Yeah.
Ya, saya dengar
Ibu
dengan jelas.
Dekan as the leader of this examination, respected promoter team, as well as the examining board members. The special greeting to the candidate, Xing. I am personally very happy looking at you sitting for open or promotion exam today. In this occasion, as a promoter, I have 2 questions. One to clarify. My first question is dealing with your new approach. The approach you applied to analyze the topic of your dissertation is relatively new and sound modern. Usually, the new and modern approach tend to analyze data from modern, update, sophisticated area. Since your research location is an ancient city, I repeat, ancient city, do you have academic reason why you choose Dali as the data city, apart from being mentioned in your background? Please. Thank you.
Thank you, Ibu Dekan, to answer the question from Professor Nengah Sudipa. For Professor's question, I think although the sample city is an Asian city, but the linguistic landscape in that area is modern. So it doesn't matter which the city is Asian or modern. What the research focus is on the linguistic landscape in that area. And also because it's an Asian city with a modern culture, so it attracts more tourists, domestic or foreign. Then the linguistic landscape in that area is more representative. That's why I choose in this city as my sample city. Thank you, Prof.
Good. My second question is, what's next? What will you do after finishing this study and having a result of dissertation? Do you want to contribute to the area where you collected data, or do you want to do further research dealing with the topic concerned? Please, time is yours.
Yes, thank you, Prof. Dr. Nengah, Sudipa, and in my opinion, I will keep do the research in this part with language service theory to do the linguistic landscape. But maybe I will change into another city to do a comparison between Dali and different cities. This is what I'm supposed to do next. That's all.
Well,
Thank you.
thank you. I'm happy with your answer, Lucing. Congratulations. Yeah. Well, Ibu Dekan, that is all from me. Thank you.
Terima kasih Bapak Profesor Dr. Nengah Sudipa MA. Selanjutnya saya persilakan yang saya hormati Saudara Kopromotor 1 Profesor Dr. Ketut Artawa MA.
Terima kasih Ibu Dekan atas kesempatannya diberikan kepada saya dan semua tim penguji yang saya hormati dan Saudara Lucing, walaupun di sana sangat pagi sudah bersedia untuk diuji pagi hari. Selamat kita sudah sampai pada tahap ini. Baiklah Lucing, I will start my question. So relate to the notion of linguistic landscape, the main function of linguistic landscape. There are two, information and symbolic function, and then the notion or the classification of sign, top-down or bottom-up classification. So I believe that linguistic landscape can be used to measure a defined space, instant area. Okay. So it examines space and identity. So your study focused on exploring the dynamics of linguistic landscape in Delhi ancient city using the language service perspective approaches. Now my question is, but the basic theory that you use is geosemantics. Okay. So this theory include in its development from the theory from Pierce, Goffman, and Lowen. Okay. It relates to the interaction, order, visual semiotic, and place semiotic. Now my question is focused on the information and symbolic function of the emplacement of the signage that you find in your research area.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, thank you for Prof. Dr. Ketut Artawa. I'm asked a question. Ibu Dekan, please allow me to answer this question. For me, I think this belongs to the geosemiotic theory, which mainly focus on the relation between linguistic landscape and the location. So the emplacement is talk about the place that where the linguistic landscape was settled. And also for the other two parts is also the thing that the geosemiotic theory focused on. But it is mainly focused on the emplacement. And in the emplacement, there are three parts: proper way, non-proper way, and also a famous brand that it doesn't matter where it placed. Like Nike shop, McDonald's, no matter where it placed, people know this is for what. But the proper way is to put in right position, and the improper way is to put in a wrong position. So this is about the emplacement of the geosemiotic theory. Thank you, Prof.
Okay, thank you, Liu Xing. Now my second question is on, based on your data, you found three types of, let's say, three types of public sign. Okay. Can you elaborate what is the symbolic function of the combined sign that you find?
Oh, thank you, Prof. Dr. Ketut Artawa, MS. Thank you for your question. I think the combined sign, first, it is combine the characteristics of official and private. So for the symbolic function of this linguistic landscape, also have the characteristics of private and official. For the nonverbal resources like colors, like the emplacement, like the sign style, it belongs to the symbolic of the local area. It is a symbolic of the local minority because it is settled by the government. For the language written on the signs, it is the symbolic of the private because all the language written on the combined signs belongs to the private. So this is the symbolic combined, also the official and private signs. That's all. Thank you, Prof.
Okay, thank you, Liu Xing. You answered all my question well. So the time now is for the examiners. Ibu Dekan, terima kasih. Saya kira cukup dari saya. Silakan melanjutkan komisi yang lain.
Terima kasih Bapak Prof. Ketut Artawa MA. Selanjutnya saya persilakan Saudara Ko-Promotor 2, Profesor Dr. M.Edu Suastra Ph.D.
Selamat pagi, Lucy. Can you hear me?
Yes, Prof.
Okay, good. Terima kasih kepada Ibu Dekan sebagai Ketua Panitia Penguji bagi Promovendus Lusing. Mudah-mudahan koneksinya Lusing baik-baik saja. Dari Anda di Cina atau masih di Yunani?
Di Europe, di Cyprus.
Oh, di Cyprus. Okay, good. Okay. I will provide you two questions. Before I propose question to you, I just want to remind you that there are still some mistake in your technical mistake, I mean, in your dissertation. Hopefully, yeah, when you are passing this examination, hopefully you can revise this again. Okay, thank you very much for this. And my first question is related to the theories. I still anxious to know, especially you can explain in more detail about the relationship, because we have two basic concepts in these theories. The first one, you are focusing your your research on the language services. And then in another one, you also focus your attention on the language landscape. Right. My question is, how do you relate? Okay. How do you relate language landscape as an approach, yeah, and language services as a focus of your studies? Yeah, this is important because connecting to your analysis, you are giving those 2 points in about in a very equal portion. Okay, that is my question. How do you relate language landscape into the language services?
Yes.
Now this is, since language services has 5 systems. Okay, the first system is resource system. The second one, format system. The third one is domain system. The next one is level system. And the last one is effectiveness system. Now, which one among those 5 categories relates much closely to your language landscape in as your approach? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prof. Dr. Randos Imade, Suastra, Ph.D. Ibu Dega, please allow me to answer this question from Professor. I think, Professor, you mentioned the 5 parts of the language service, which one of the part is connected with linguistic landscape. That is the second part, which belongs to the language service resources. Because linguistic landscape is one of the language resources of the language service. And how do I relate it? As we can see, the linguistic landscape is the language that written on the public area. So it belongs to one of the language service resources, which is called text service. And also I mentioned about the grammar services, because as I presented in the presentation, that there are some problems with the translation. So the wrong grammar, the wrong translation, the wrong sentences will lead the sign reader a wrong way to understand it. That's why I need to check and do the research of the linguistic landscape and also the language service, but mainly I focus on language service with the linguistic landscape way. That's all. Thank you, Prof.
Very good. Thank you very much. I just agree with you because the first principle, the system is resource system. That is the main focus. Thank you very much, Lucing. Okay, I satisfied with your answer. Okay, now the second question. In terms of language, language landscape, as been said by Professor Artawa just now, consists of different things, location or whatever. Okay, in terms about language as well. Now, my question is, do you have language policies in terms of language use, both central regulation or local regulation in Delhi, in Delhi province?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so if you do have this, please mention, give me example for this. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Dr. Randall Simade Suastra, Ph.D. for your question. I think the laws, as you mentioned, or regulations, as you mentioned before, there are general or center law of the country, and also there is local regulation. For the relationship between these two regulation or laws, that is the local regulation is based on the general law, because the general law is a list that settle a deadline, and also the local regulation is based on that general law and make some adaptation to the local condition or local situation to add more regulations. So the local regulation has more details, and the center or country's general law is just a framework. This is the relation between them. So the general and the local, they have similar part with the use of the language in the public area, but the local regulation, the local law is more detailed. So this is the relation, and this is my answer. Thank you, Prof.
Can you give one example for this? For example, how you use Putonghua and how do you use English or whatever?
Yes, Prof. For the general regulation, it asked we to use the standard Chinese language, written or spoken. But the local regulation can protect their own minority languages, which means you can choose if you want to speak the standard Chinese character to standard Chinese language, or use your minority languages. So this is the local regulations.
Right?
And
thank you. Yes?
Yes, thank you, Prof.
All right. Good. Thank you very much. Yeah. Quite challenging your question. Very good. Cukup digunakan atas kesempatannya. Thank you very much, Lusing.
Terima kasih Bapak Prof. Budiarsa Suastra Ph.D. Selanjutnya saya persilahkan yang saya hormati penguji Profesor Dr. M.Edu Budiarsa M.A.
Terima kasih Ibu Dekan. Bisa didengar ya saya?
Bisa Pak, bisa.
Bisa. Mohon maaf tidak bisa memuncul video karena kebetulan juga menggunakan 3 alat ini. 1 untuk ujian terbuka di pariwisata, 2 ikut di workshop jurusan, dan ini tidak memakai ini Bu Dekan. Terima kasih Bu Dekan yang saya hormati. Selanjutnya saya juga memberikan salam kepada semua penguji dan yang hadir pada pagi hari ini pada ujiannya Xing, terutama penguji tamu kita Bapak Abdul Hamid Yassin Prof. Selamat bergabung lagi. Okay, Xing, congratulations to you. You have already finished your study. That is at the end. Yeah, this is the last time for your study. I have 2 questions. One, in relation to linguistic landscape, you said that is an iconic symbol that distinguishes a region from other regions and provide language services for all people in the regions. What does this mean? Can you give me the explanation in order to make it clear?
Yes, Prof. Thank you for the question from Prof. Dr. Madi Budiarsa, MR. If they can, please allow me to answer this question. I think for Prof, your question is quite interesting because, as I mentioned in the in my disertasi, that the linguistic landscape in that area will not only language but also nonverbal resources. As we can see in the pictures, there are some local cartoon representative of the minorities. And also there are some Asian cities logo, which is only belongs to that city, Dali. And also there is like butterfly pattern designed in the signs, which means when you came to this area, you know this is city of butterfly. So all of this, although they are not language, but they also belongs to one part of the linguistic landscape. They are the exclusive regional impression of the local area. It will leave the passenger or tourists different impression of that city. That's all. Thank you, Prof.
Okay, thank you, Luching. That is very good answer. Now, my one questions, another one now. I just would like to ask you, yeah, you have got the result of your analysis, and then you have written here. What do you think the benefit, yeah, especially for the academic benefit, the result of your study, and also to the stakeholders, and what can you say about that? Yeah, the benefit, I think, because whatever you have got as a result, it must benefit, yeah, to other people, especially for academic and also for the practical people. Yeah.
Yes, Prof. Thank you, Prof, for your question. I think the benefit of my result, first, I found the most important thing, that is the combined sign, which will direct some other cities can do the same thing, that when they build the linguistic landscape in their city, they can also do the combined signs to beneficial not only the local residents, but also the shop owners. And also, I think the beneficial for these results is the feedback, because I did a questionnaire from the sign reader, which means they have the needs of the linguistic landscape to deliver some special kind of language services. For example, as in my dissertation, I expression that the need of QR code is necessary nowadays, because almost everybody have smartphone, so they would like to scan by themselves about the linguistic landscape to explore more in their smartphones, rather than only look at the billboards, only look at the signs. So this is a change with like modern technology, and I think after I wish after doing this, having this result can give recommendations for some other places or cities when they are doing the linguistic landscape and do the construction of the linguistic landscape. That's all. Thank you, Prof.
Okay, thank you very much for your answer. Yeah, I think I'm really satisfied with your answer. Saya kembalikan ke Ibu Sultan. Terima kasih, Bu.
Terima kasih Pak Prof. Dr. Madi Budiarsa MA. Selanjutnya saya persilahkan yang saya hormati Saudara Penguji Profesor Dr. Wayan Pastika MS.
Terima kasih Ibu Dekan selaku Ketua Sidang yang terbuka. Atas nama Lusing, mohon maaf, apakah suara saya bisa terdengar dengan jelas?
Terdengar dengan jelas Pak Prof.
Baik, terima kasih. Dan juga selamat pagi pada Bapak-Bapak anggota penguji ujian terbuka bersama mahasiswa S3 Lusing, dan juga selamat bergabung untuk Prof. Abdul Hakim dari Unhas, dan juga anggota senat yang lain. Dan Saudara Lusing, congratulations to your final step for your PhD program. I have two questions actually. So one is on the grammar service. The second one is on the effectiveness of language service. So you mentioned that in your study, linguistic landscape is switchable for the text service and grammar service. I understand that you have found various aspects of text service already, such as meaning, message, and information to give the public on the information and rules they need. My question is on the grammar service that you mentioned in your dissertation. What kind of grammar service can you identify from your service? We know that the term of grammar refers to several aspects. So we know phonology, morphology, syntax, and semantics. Those are beyond macro-linguistics, pragmatic, social-linguistic, etc. In relation with your data that you have mentioned just now, something like the source language text from Chinese to English, I haven't found any analysis that, on that kind of data. So it seemed to me that there is a big gap in terms of message between the source and the target language. So have you noticed those kind of interesting data in your dissertation? Please.
Yes, thank you, Prof. Dr. Wayan, Pastika, MS. I think your question is quite interesting because actually, when I'm doing the research, before I'm doing the research, I didn't notice this. But after I collecting my data, the more I collected, I found there are quite interesting about the translation to languages, translation or multilingual, the translation of the different languages. And also, I think I noticed in my dissertation that there is some problem with the Grammarly translation. Like I mentioned in presentation that forget the river and the lakes. For the non-Chinese speakers or non-Chinese reader, when they read the sign, they would not know the meaning of the English because it's nothing, although the looks and the reading is English. So for this part, I think it's something that the local shop owner or private sign owner should revise because they just simply, literally, one by one word by one word translate the signs without understanding the meaning and the culture after the different language. So I think after doing this research, I will keep doing this part to focus and hope I can help more people to realize this problem. Thank you, Prof.
Okay, thank you. I hope you should notice about that because you see, this is the marked features of our linguistic studies. Otherwise, so we lag behind the linguistic features. But thank you for the answer. Nice answer. Very good answer. Now, let me move on to the next questions. Is on the, as I mentioned before, the effectiveness of the language service. So you mentioned it consists of two parts: tool effectiveness and economic effectiveness. So in my understanding, that could be different from your perspective, actually. The effectiveness of language service should have features like simple code, easy to understand, interesting, sympathetic. With those four features, the public as the second party, eager to spend their resource to cooperate with the first party, like the shop owner and the government, etc. Have you found any difficult possibility of public understanding on the linguistic code performed by the public yeah, uh, yeah, the understanding of the linguistic code performed in public domain. So, like the data that you mentioned before, so any probably other feature of Miss Linguistic sign perform in public?
Yes, Prof. Thank you for your question. I think the two effectiveness of the language service, like you mentioned, two effectiveness and the economic effectiveness. For the different how to say, for the different people, they focus or mention on different efficiency. Like the sign reader, they just focus on the information that they want to get. So they will focus on the two efficiency of the linguistic landscape. But for the sign owner or government who settle the signs, they will focus more on the economic efficiency of the linguistic landscape, because both of them are out of different purpose. So they have different focus, and they put their attention on different parts. That's all. Thank you, Prof.
Okay, thank you. You have answered my question well. Actually, I do have one more question, but time is very limited, so I'll give back to Ibu Dekan. Ibu Dekan, terima kasih sudah menyampaikan pertanyaan. Thank you very much, Lusing.
Iya. Terima kasih Bapak Prof. Dr. Wayan Pastika MS. Selanjutnya saya persilahkan yang saya hormati Saudara Penilai Profesor Dr. Wayan Simpen M.Hum.
Terima kasih pada Ibu Dekan. Apa suara saya bisa didengar?
Terdengar Pak Prof, terdengar jelas.
Ya, terima kasih. Saya juga mengucapkan selamat pagi untuk semua tim penguji, terutama Prof dari luar, Prof Abdul dari Unhas. Terima kasih sudah bergabung kembali, Prof. Oke, Saudara Lusing, dengar suara saya?
Yes, Prof.
Yeah, I'm congratulations for you and your family, especially for your institution. Okay, I have two questions for you. The first, I'm concerned in your methodology. In your research methodology, you use literature research methodology, observation method, and survey method with questionnaire and interview. In the other, for resources of data, we know to informant, respondent, and resource person. Can you explain for me what the difference between informant, respondent, and resource person? Okay, please.
Yes, terima kasih Prof. Dr. Wayan Simpen M.Hum for your question. If they can, please allow me to answer this question. I think for the informant, for the respondent and the resource man, they have different roles. Like the informant, they're inclined to be like the, how to say, in this research, they're more likely to be the governor or the people that I need to check, I need to ask. And the respondent is inclined to be the object that I need to ask with questionnaire. And the resource person, I think, is like the people that I used to do the interview research. So for the informant, is or the people who give me the resources, of the literature or the how to say, the knowledge. For the respondent is more likely to be the person who give me some data. And for the resource person is serve at the same function of a respondent. That's all. Thank you, Prof.
Okay. My second question. Your output research is your dissertation. I want to know what are your research outcome or what you do the future about your research now, please.
Oh, yes, Prof. Thank you for your question. For the outcome, I think there are three parts. Like the QR code is very important. After I did the questionnaire, and then I found there are a lot of people in need of the QR code, as I mentioned before, and also the combined science. It could be a new trend for the different cities to set up the science or to implement the science. And for the third thing, that is all the different cities could put their unique icon in the city public places or signs to make the people feel different, because this is important to leave the tourists or passengers impression of that unique city. So later on, I think I will keep doing this, maybe to do a comparative comparison linguistic landscape from Dali and different cities to check if the other city also have the same like QR code, like combined signs, or they didn't have. That's all. Thank you, Prof.
Okay, I'm happy to listen your answer. Terima kasih Ibu Dekan. Waktu saya kembalikan ke terima kasih.
Terima kasih Pak Prof. Dr. Wayan Simpen M.Hum. Selanjutnya saya persilakan yang saya hormati Saudara Penilai Profesor Dr. Abdul Hakim Yassi M.A. Mikrofonnya masih mute Pak Prof. Suaranya belum terdengar Pak Prof. Mikrofonnya masih mute.
Halo, selamat siang.
Selamat siang Pak Prof.
Sudah dengar?
Sudah.
Terima kasih banyak. Ya, semoga sehat-sehat selalu. Juga selamat siang kepada seluruh tim promotor dan tim penguji. Semoga sehat-sehat walafiat semuanya. Xing, I think you have already known what I like to forward in this opportunity. Yeah, first of all, I'd like to congratulate you for being in this stage now. And yeah, as usual, I won't forward any questions, but I would like to hear from you your comment about something to do with you claim that your novelty, because I'm sorry to say that what did you put in your dissertation draft that you claim that is the research novelty. The first one is introducing language service theory, and the second one proposing the concept of combined signage, and the last one emphasizing the research value of nonverbal resources. To me, yeah, this is something to do with practical benefit of the dissertations. And then, you know, yeah, even in this this kind of research, PhD research is advanced research, so you should also think about the scientific contribution of your research. So you have fulfilled actually the practical benefit of your research, but I'm still I'm still seeking for the other one, that is the contribution of your study to body of science. So again, I want forward a questions. So actually, Xing, you use three different theories you apply in this study. Your Semitic theory from Scotland and Scotland, and economic of language theory, and other one language service theory. Yeah, my expectations actually that you should say something. You should say something. It might be revisiting this three theory or one of them, or it might be all the three theory. You revisit it and then as such develop it. In that sense, this effort will define your standpoint in the issue among other similar study done previously in the world. Yeah. Right now, you haven't defined what is actually your standpoint. It might be you revisit and attacking one particular theory among the three theory that you use, and then that's good. That actually it remind me last time when you sit in the previous examinations. I think it's quite similar to this. I'm expecting actually today. I would like to hear from you. Okay, what is your comment? And
Yes. Thank you, Prof. Dr. Abdul, Hakim, Yassi, and for your question. I think it's quite challenge for me
yeah,
because I didn't think about that before. But after you mentioned last time, I start to think. I hope I can write some how to say, like papers or journals to publish about what you mentioned, the maybe one of the theory used or applied into this area, into this linguistic landscape research. Or I hope I could to explore the language service theory, because it's a very big, how to say, a huge, and including a lot of different different aspects of language by service. So it first is basic on the language, but the purpose and the goal, the final goal, is to do the to do the service part. So I think maybe later on I could start to do this, and if there's some problem, maybe I will still ask Prof for your suggestions. That's all. Thank you, Prof.
Okay, Xing, thank you for promising me. And then I think I am the first figure that would like to have your Pudor comment on this. Yeah, I think that was all about. Congratulations, Xing, for being in this stage. I think you will how do you say that? Yeah, you will pass this examination as well.
Thank you, Prof.
Ya, terima kasih Bu Dekan. Itu aja yang saya sempat ajukan hari ini. Terima kasih banyak penguji dan promotor kesempatannya. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Ya.
Waalaikumsalam.
Ya. Terima kasih Pak Prof. Dr. Abdul Hakim Yassi MA. Selanjutnya saya persilahkan yang saya hormati Saudara Penilai Dr. Nyoman Udayana M.Litt Ph.D.
Terima kasih Ibu Dekan sebagai pimpinan sidang yang telah memberi kesempatan untuk apa jelas ya ini suaranya nggak coba
Suaranya jelas Pak.
jelas ya ya
Jelas.
Okay, Lusing. So I would like to raise two questions to you. And number one is that in the beginning of chapter 4, you mentioned that linguistic landscape also provides grammar services, but you haven't give us readers any qualification as to how this kind of program is implemented. Did you mean that people or institution posting the signboards or signages were given grammar services when writing their information in languages that they use on the signboards or signages? Okay, that's my first question. So please answer that question.
Thank you, Prof. Dr. Nyoman Udayana, M.Litt, Ph.D. I think in chapter 4, as you mentioned, for the language service of the grammar services also belongs to the the linguistic landscape part. This grammar services actually refers to the correct way of of the language that written on the signs in public, because it is faced to the public and it is to the people that we don't know where they came from. So when they for the government or for the private sign owners, when they need to set up the meaning, when they need to promote their goods, when they need to transform the information, they need to make the correct way with correct grammar to put the language on the signs. That's why I mentioned in that part about the grammar services. And but in the language services theory, the grammar service is not only used in linguistic landscape, but also in a lot of different areas, like the publish of dictionary, the artificial intelligence, or the completion of the the computer language, something like that. Thank you, Prof.
Yeah, okay. If that's the case, so I think I expect that from the very first, you need to mention or give us any kind of idea that the grammar service must be also addressed in the somewhere or wherever in your dissertation. So maybe write also in that chapter. That's my suggestions then. Okay, thank you very much for your answer. Okay, now my questions number 2 pertaining to language policies regulated by the authorities or the local government there in the provincial government, whatever you call that, in the by prefecture, you call that prefecture government. You also given us any idea as to what kind of, let's say, restriction, explicit restriction that is that are imposed by the local authorities or the local government as to whether the information given in the signage or the signboard monolingual or bilingual, because it is important, as maybe you know that in Bali also you might have the idea that okay, so you have Balinese, maybe English, and long time ago maybe some foreign languages like English, for example, is not maybe Chinese, for example, it's not what then possible to be used. So there's restriction. So the government has reasons for that. Yeah, I think this is also momentum. I mean, it is good idea also for you to give us readers that whether the government also give restriction to that kind of let's say regulation on signage. So, but later you have mentioned also that in some places, language use can be bilingual. because these touristic places, then you might have English, modern Chinese, or maybe just monolingual. And something that might also emerge there is Burmese or Tibetan. So you haven't give us any idea why then maybe Burmese is important in this respect. Yeah, I think maybe Balinese. So I think we have Balinese community also in China, right? So maybe they just use also some languages in Balinese. So, but you haven't given us any idea as to why Burmese, for example. Do you mean that the Burmese people also, let's say, some of them migrated to China some time ago, so that maybe like in America, for example, yeah,
Yes, yes.
in some places, maybe in Texas, for example, you just use maybe not only in signboard, but also in, for example, giving direction in the transportation. Then you have Spanish. Yeah, because most of the people, not only let's say English-speaking people, but also coming from the South American regions, actually.
Yeah.
So I'm interested in knowing the idea why then Burmese become important in this case. So give us the ideas, the readers, why? Yeah. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Randall, Nyoman, Udayana, M.Litt, Ph.D. If they can, please allow me to answer this question. I think in the, how to say, first I have to say that Burmese is not the important language in China, actually.
Yeah.
And because in my research and observation, I found there is only one case of the signs that used this, and it is private sign. So, which means the private sign owner has their own choice to make decision what kind of language they would like to use. And that's why they use Burmese is because it is a shop, a store to sell the goods of mainland. That's why he write the Burmese on the signs, because he wants to make the shop more reliable or variable to push or to give the good impression of the sign reader to ask them come to buy the goods, because he thinks that when he use the country's language, then the people will believe the thing is from that country. For example, as we can see, a lot of shop or a restaurant written on Japanese, and then you can see the restaurant is selling like sushi or is selling like the rolls of the Japanese food. So this is why the Burmese used in that area, and I only find one case in that place. So it means it's not the important language in that Dali Asian city in that area. And for the language policy, as you mentioned before, actually the country's regulation, they have the laws about how to use the language with like standard written or speaking language. And also it required local government can make more regulations. So for the local government of the Dali Asian city, it required bilingual, at least English and Chinese. So for the Burmese, which is kind of in correct way to show the language, but maybe the government didn't manage it. Maybe later on the government will manage to punish him or whatever. So this is about the thing that I think you mentioned. Thank you, Prof.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much for your answer. I think, yeah, so it is only kind of, let's say, in passing that you can use maybe Vietnamese or Burmese or maybe Indonesian, who knows? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, Bu Dekan. So now the time is yours. Yeah.
Ya. Terima kasih Bapak Dr. Andes Nyoman Udayana M.Litt Ph.D. Baiklah para penguji, waktu masih 20 menit. Walaupun masih 20 menit, ujian ini akan saya akhiri. Oleh karena itu, saya mohon petugas waktu untuk memberikan tanda akhir. Ujian dinyatakan telah selesai. Selanjutnya kami akan mengadakan rapat yudisium untuk menetapkan kelulusan promovendus. Kami mohon promotor, kopromotor, tim penguji dan ketua panitia pelaksana promosi doktor untuk menuju ruang rapat di WAG ujian promosi doktor. Sidang promosi doktor akan diskors paling lama selama 30 menit.
ke kanan tuh.
Bapak Ibu mohon perhatian, acara akan dilanjutkan. Dekan Fakultas Ilmu Budaya Universitas Udayana disilakan untuk membuka kembali sidang promosi doktor.
Dengan ini saya nyatakan sidang promosi doktor atas nama Xing S.A. Master Education dibuka kembali. Saya bacakan hasil rapat yudisium. Saudara Promovendus Xing S.A. Master Education, mahasiswa angkatan tahun akademik 2018-2019, berdasarkan hasil rapat yudisium promosi doktor dan setelah mempertimbangkan 1. Prestasi yang telah dicapai Promovendus selama dalam pendidikan. 2. Ketekunan dan kesungguhan kerja Promovendus dalam melakukan penelitian. 3. Cara Promovendus mempertahankan disertasi. Dan 4. Sumbangan disertasi Promovendus terhadap pengembangan ilmu pengetahuan serta penilaian yang telah dilakukan panitia ujian doktor tertutup pada tanggal 25 Juni 2021 dengan segala peraturan dan wewenang yang ada di Fakultas Ilmu Budaya Universitas Udayana. Dengan ini, sidang memutuskan bahwa disertasi saudara Promovendus Xing S.A. Master Education diterima. Dan dengan demikian, saudara telah menyelesaikan pendidikan doktor di program studi doktor S3 Linguistik Fakultas Ilmu Budaya Universitas Udayana serta dinyatakan lulus dengan predikat cum laude. Kepada saudara diberikan hak untuk memakai gelar doktor dengan hak dan kewajiban serta kehormatan yang menurut hukum melekat pada gelar tersebut. Kami atas nama Lembaga Fakultas Ilmu Budaya Universitas Udayana mengucapkan selamat dan sukses kepada doktor baru kita, Dr. Xing S.A. Master Education. Saudara merupakan doktor yang ke-138 di Fakultas Ilmu Budaya Universitas Udayana dan doktor yang ke-191 pada program studi doktor S3 Linguistik Fakultas Ilmu Budaya Universitas Udayana. Selanjutnya saya persilahkan saudara promotor Profesor Dr. Nengah Sudipa MA yang memiliki peran penting atas keberhasilan doktor baru kita untuk menyampaikan pidato singkat tentang prestasi Dr. Xing S.A. Master Education tentang makna disertasi. Profesor Dr. Nengah Sudipa MA dipersilahkan.
Om Swastiastu.
Om Swastiastu.
Well, the Honorable Dean, Ibu Dr. Made Sri Satyawati, as the leader of this promotion examination today. The promoter teams, Professor Dr. Ketut Artawa MA and Professor Made Suastra Ph.D. The respected examiners, Professor Made Budiarsa, Professor Wayan Pastika, Professor Wayan Simpen, Professor Dr. Abdul Hakim Yassi MA, the external examiners from Ujung Pandang, Nyoman Udayana Ph.D. Especially to the newly graduated student, Dr. Xing S.A. Master of Education. It is a great pleasure for me as the promoter to thank to God for his blessing so we can attend this valuable ceremony in terms of academic achievement from one of our doctoral students. This occasion becomes very special because the newly graduated student is from overseas. This, of course, need very special treatment in order to have international recognition of this doctoral program, Linguistic Department of Faculty of Humanities, Udayana University. Ibu Dekan and other respected examiners. Dr. Xing S.A. Master of Education is a smart student. At the first time I met in 2018, he is under my academic supervisor and tend to show his brilliant knowledge of linguistic, especially the newly developed approach in linguistic. Therefore, he proposed to write his interest in linguistic landscape with the city data. Formerly, he wanted to take in Sanur and Denpasar, a modern area in Bali. Time flies so quickly, and since he was appointed to work not in Bali anymore, he changed his research location into Delhi, ancient city in China. Ladies and gentlemen, wherever the research location is, it doesn't change his smart knowledge about the topic concerned. He managed to write his last assignment entitled Language Service of Delhi Ancient City, Linguistic Landscape Approach, dealing with checking the current situation of the linguistic landscape in Delhi Ancient City, introducing the situation of linguistic landscape in terms of providing language service in the research area, revealing why such language service are necessary for public science and the suitability of the linguistic landscape in the tourist attraction of Delhi Ancient City. Ladies and gentlemen, I am very happy that when I ask what will he do next, he will keep doing research and develop the theory by comparing the data from different areas. This is promising enough, and we all from Bali are looking forward to hearing from you that you publish your work either in national or international journal. I believe that you can do this as far as you keep doing your best. Never give up. Last but not least, on behalf of the promoter team, as well as on behalf of the family of Doctoral Linguistic Program, Faculty of Humanities, Udayana University, congratulate your good performance today, the highest academic achievement in your life to obtain Doctor of Philosophy in Linguistics with cum laude predicate. I repeat, to obtain Doctor of Philosophy in Linguistics with cum laude predicate. One more. Congratulate, and we are happy to hear this. Hopefully, in the near future, we will meet you again in other academic occasion, whether in Bali or in China. I must apologize if there are some inconveniences during I'm delivering my speech, and may I close with saying goodbye, thank you, and Om Santi, Santi, Santi Om. Thank you.
Terima kasih Pak Prof. Dr. Sudipa MA. Dengan sekali lagi mengucapkan puja dan puji syukur kehadapan Tuhan Yang Maha Esa, disertai ucapan terima kasih kepada semua pihak yang telah ikut berpartisipasi dan membantu penyelenggaraan acara promosi doktor, dan dengan permohonan maaf atas segala kekurangan yang terjadi, maka sidang promosi doktor dinyatakan ditutup. Om Santi 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 Om. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Namo Buddhaya, Shalom, salam sejahtera untuk kita semua. Selamat siang dan terima kasih.
Waalaikumsalam.
Ya, congratulations.
Ya.
Hadirin yang kami hormati, dengan demikian maka berakhirlah seluruh rangkaian acara sidang promosi doktor hari ini. Kami atas nama panitia penyelenggara mohon maaf yang sebesar-besarnya apabila terjadi kesalahan atau ada hal yang kurang berkenan selama berlangsungnya acara ini. Terima kasih atas partisipasinya. Selamat siang. Om Santi 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 Om.
Congratulations, Lusing. Congratulations.
Congratulations Lusing, selamat Lusing atas kerja kerasnya Lusing.
Terima